In a previous lesson, we began to talk about gradients, which are a smooth blend between two or more colors. In this lesson, we're going to discuss using and altering gradients. If you'd like to follow along, go under your File menu to Open, and in the Working Files folder, go into chapter number 13 and select Working with Gradients, and just click Open. Why don't we begin by opening the gradient panel and take a look at what's inside. I'm going to select one of these objects just so we could alter it using the gradient panel. You can see there's a little thumbnail of the gradient. Also, right next to that, to the right, it says Type. And this is the two different types of gradients that you have in InDesign. Linear, which travels at a straight angle, and also radial, which is circular. So you can see it starts in the center at white and goes out to black and looks circular. Let me go back to linear. The next field is location, and what that has to do with is the little diamond shape above the top of the gradient ramp. By default, it's right in the middle. That represents the center of the change between the two stops. If I wanted to change that center, I could click on the diamond and just drag it to the right or left. And what it does is skews the change further towards one stop or the other. Let me undo that by hitting Command-Z on a Mac, Control-Z on a PC. Also, if I select either one of the stops, I can control the location of the stop in the location field. So if I were to make this 10% and hit Enter or Return, it moves the stop to 10% from the far left to the right. Let me go back to 0. I could do that just by clicking on the stop and dragging it back. There's also something called angle. In the angle field, instead of having my gradient going straight across an object from left to right, I could angle it. So let me just enter 45 in here for 45 degrees and hit Return or Enter. And you can see now it is angled at 45 degrees. The next section says reverse. So if I wanted my gradient going the opposite direction, I could click reverse. And now what used to be white is black, and what used to be black is white. So it reverses the gradient to the opposite direction. I can also add stops anywhere along the gradient ramp just by clicking under the gradient ramp. If I wanted to get rid of that stop, all I have to do is click and drag it away from the gradient ramp. Now let's talk about the gradient tool. Why don't we select this top object and go to the gradient tool. The way you do that is hit your G key for gradient, G for gradient, or you could just click on the tool that looks like a gradient swatch. And the way this works is I can click and drag with the tool to pick a starting point for the gradient, and the gradient will travel at the angle that I'm dragging at, and wherever I let go, the gradient will end. So you can see it started here, I dragged at an angle, which it picked up, and wherever I let go is where it ended the gradient and turned to black. I can also make this go straight across by using Smart Guides, by just clicking and dragging. Another thing I can do, let me go to my selection tool and select my grid of squares. And I'm going to go to my gradient tool and click and drag at an angle. Wherever I click first is where the gradient is going to begin. It's going to travel at the angle that I dragged, and wherever I let go, the gradient is going to end. And it's going to make it seem as if one gradient is filling all of these selected objects as a unit. Really kind of cool. In the next lesson, we're going to begin to discuss strokes.